Have you ever heard of Candyman? If you look in the mirror and you say his name 5 times, he'll appear behind you, breathing down your neck. You want to try it?
Candyman. 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 Candyman.
Candyman.
Candyman, huh?
What have you heard?
You live over at Cabrini, my friend told me about.
Cabrini Green.
Cabrini Green. Candyman country. You do know the story, don't you? Candyman was the son of a slave. These stories are modern folklore.
I hear you looking for Candyman.
You don't believe all that nonsense anyway, do you?
Candyman. Candyman.
Candyman.
Candyman.
Candyman.
Do I know you?
No.
But you doubted me.
An entire community starts attributing the daily horrors to a mythical figure.
You attacked her with a meat cleaver. Did the killer appear to you?
What's the matter, Trevor? Scared of something?
I am the writing on the wall. The whisper in the classroom. Be my victim.
And welcome back to the Movie Hero Network. This is Wheel of Movies, episode number 29, and we are talking Candyman tonight in honor of the late, great Tony Todd, who unfortunately we lost just a few weeks ago. And Richie, unfortunately, again, it's another tribute episode, which we don't like doing on Wheel of Movies because it means somebody passed away. That's the only reason we don't like doing it. Not that we don't want to talk about these great movies, but the circumstances surrounding it. But nevertheless, we are here talking Candyman tonight. My co-host, as always, here on the Wheel of Movies, Richie Goodacre. How's it going, Richie?
Yeah, not too bad. It does. It is sort of bittersweet when when these prop up, but to talk about a great movie. But it seems like every other episode. It does. If you're a celebrity, a well-known celebrity, and you've got movies on this wheel, just give us a month or something. I'm just saying, just a month. That's all I ask.
I know. Yeah, it does seem like every other episode lately, at least in the last 10 or 12, has been a tribute episode. But, at the same time, Richie, it seems like the one show here on the Movie Hero Network where we can kind of pay tribute other than just a quick word or two on tournament fights or T-Rick or something like that, where we can actually kind of dig into, that person's role and their career a little bit and a great role, performance of theirs. So, in another way, it's a way we can honor them here properly on the Movie Hero Network, at least.
Yeah. So there is that, positive about it. So and it was good diving back into it. And I liked the sort of the mix of the modern trailer with the original movie there. So it goes with the current theme of mixing pop, recontextualizing pop songs into a darker
the dark version of the pop, the bouncy song into a slow version. Yes.
So but I thought it kind of works, so props to who put that together. It's gonna be fun to do a deep dive. It was a good rewatch. I haven't watched in a while, so
Yeah, no, I this is one I've seen a couple of times. I think even my most recent watch was probably before the 2021 movie, when that came out, because I do remember watching it that week before I went and saw the Nia DaCosta movie. And we might talk about that a little bit at the very end, because I did a rewatch of that as well. I kind of dove back into Candyman lore and gave that one a rewatch because I hadn't seen this in the theater. So maybe we'll talk about that at the tail end of this episode. But yeah, as far as the main topic tonight, we are discussing, of course, Candyman, directed by Bernard Rose, who has a kind of a strange filmography, who just did this kind of his biggest, most famous movie. And then he does a lot of just kind of low key movies and dramas and whatnot. And this is kind of the one, when I was looking up, is sort of he's most famous for, oddly enough, because everything else in his filmography is mostly stuff I haven't seen. So I think the other most famous was probably the 1997 version of Anna Karenina. It's pretty much his other, the Sean Bean, Alfred Molina joint, and everything else is like a lot of stuff that I haven't seen. So his most famous movie here.
Maybe decided horror's not his thing. I can't imagine that he wouldn't be like getting offered a lot of. I can't imagine he wouldn't be getting offered a lot of jobs after the success of Candyman. So
yeah. Well, speaking of success, we'll talk about that in a second. But released on October 16th, 1992. So it is a Halloween season movie. So they did the right thing to put it out near Halloween. Always appreciate when they put out, big horror movies around that time. It seems appropriate. Budget of $8 million. And again, seems appropriate. Most horror movies, even nowadays, are about $10 or $15 million or less, for the most part.
Yeah, a proper sensible budget. Not like you can make a movie on a great, on sensible budget. You don't have to make a, $250 million dollar budget red one. Just saying.
Well, and even adjusted for inflation, I'll give you the numbers here in a second, but the original budget, $8 million, box office $25.8 million, so a modest hit, again, for a horror movie. That's not a bad return, because, you need about double, your budget, and a little bit more to make some money, so it was a profitable film. And, of course, this movie also found an audience on cable, and on video rentals and whatnot, and found more of an audience over time, as a lot of horror movies did. And even adjusted for inflation, to your point, Richie, adjusted for inflation, the budget's still $15 million. Again, sensible budget, for a horror movie. And box office would be about 50. So, imagine a movie coming out, as a lot of horror movies do. You put out a movie for $10 or $15 million, it makes 50. Hey, you've got a profitable movie on your hands. There you go. You're right.
Why do you think we've got so many Paranormal Activity sequels?
Yeah, or why do you think Jeff Wadlow has a job? There you go. Case in point. But a moderate success, and of course, the character is kind of endured as a fairly iconic horror character, not quite at the level of a Freddy, Jason, Michael, Chucky, Leatherface, that kind. But in that sort of, if some of them are S tier and Leatherface and some of them are. Candyman's probably in that B tier, like he's fairly famous, but maybe not as much as the other ones.
I think people will probably remember that they've got more memories of how you summon him as opposed to like the
actual movie. Like I think people know the Candyman thing in the mirror. Yeah, I would think so. Most people know that. You bring it up. Most people know the don't say it 5 times in the mirror. That sort of thing. So I feel like it was kind of the Bloody Mary, if you will. If the Mary thing, that's kind of similar that used to tease about other kids when we were kids. So a couple of little facts and trivia bits before we kind of dive in. The main one that kept popping up is the first person they actually tried to get and considered, but obviously couldn't because he was too big of a star at the time. Can you imagine Eddie Murphy playing the Candyman, Richie? At all?
No, I feel like that'd be distracting. It'd be very like Vampire in Brooklyn-esque, you know what I mean?
Yes.
I'd just be like, no, you're no, it would take me out of it because I'd be like, I just don't buy him as menacing either. He doesn't have that gravitas voice.
He doesn't have the voice. Tony Todd's like 6'5". He's a tall guy as well. He's a big dude. And he doesn't have that deep, voices that iconic voices we'll talk about, with Tony Todd. I just don't think Eddie Murphy could pull off a role like this. Yeah, like I said, without it being somewhat coming off as kind of comedic, especially around 1991, 1992. when they're making this movie. It just it doesn't work. Yeah, I don't think so. So, but that's who they initially had thought. But Tony Todd auditioned for the role, and he got it. He won the part, and to his dying day, he said this was his favorite role he ever did. So that's hence why we're doing it, and one he's probably most famous for. As far as in the Virginia Madsen roles, originally going to go to Bernard Rose's wife, who was an actress, but she was pregnant at the time. They went to go film, so they went with their backup, which was Virginia Madsen, who had auditioned and put in a really great audition. Had, for whatever reason, Virginia Madsen been unavailable, their next go-to, Sandra Bullock in 1992. Could have been interesting.
Okay, her career might have been a bit different. I don't know. It could have been like. I mean,
well, I tell you one thing, Richie. I go to that theory that everybody starts in horror. Everybody does, and she could have. Jennifer Aniston did Leprechaun. This is pre-Speed, pre-Demolition Man. Even I could see it. If I don't know if her career would have been that different had she been in this movie. Yeah. I mean,
you got everybody. You got all those guys who started in like Scream in the 90s. You got like a lot of you got a lot of people. Yeah, I guess not. I just think that maybe she'd be offered more like maybe horror roles, but you never know. Like she could probably still find a niche in comedy and dramas and stuff.
Because I think the only thing I know her from around this time is she did a movie called Love Potion Number 9, kind of based on that song like the year before this, so like 91.
And that's not supposed to be that great, is it?
No. I think I watched it one time and it was fairly boring. Yeah, she's got like nerdy glasses in it. And, it's a very She's All That situation where they pretend like she's not attractive, but she's Sandra Bullock in 1991, so she is. Because she's got nerdy glasses on, so obviously she's not attractive. Yeah, she's got glasses on, so she's hideous and ugly. It's horrible. But I could see it. I mean, she's a good actress. I could see it around this time. She wasn't the famous Sandra Bullock that we all know. Philip Glass does the score. Who doesn't particularly love this movie, but the score is fantastic for this movie. This score is so good, and I don't want to say that thing that almost seems insulting, where it's like the score is almost too good for the movie. But goddamn, I could see the score being in like a Spielberg movie or something. Like this score is great. It's like so good, and I can't tell you, Richie, how many times I've listened to like covers of this score or epic versions or piano covers or whatever. This score is great. It's so good.
Yeah, no, this score is great. I can definitely. I think I probably added it to one of my Spotify playlists right after watching it. I'm like, I probably should have. This is one of those ones where I should have it on my one of the better score. I don't know why I didn't think of it when I think we've done tournament fights and I hadn't think about it, but it's definitely one of the better ones I've heard in quite a while.
Yeah, no, really, really good. Just excellent stuff. I've looked this up many times and covers and whatnot. Yeah, great score. We'll talk about it as we go through the movie. Probably the most famous trivia from this thing is about the bees. Obviously, the bee sequence. The bees are real. They're all real. This is 1992, and Tony Todd has told this story very many times. He negotiated a special clause in his contract where if he got stung, he got $1,000 per sting and racked up $23,000. So you do the math. A little bonus for him getting stung, but they weren't too bad. They were all very young bees, and they actually kept him fairly calm. With a queen pheromone that they had to spray all over his face and his mouth and everything, and he had to basically hold his mouth open and stay very still for literally about 20 to 30 minutes. It was kind of insane. Them going in and out of his mouth. But those are all real bees. It's pretty astounding, even now watching the scene. It's incredible. That this is all real. I mean, nowadays you think that obviously that would be a lot of CGI going on, but man, the lengths they went to for practical effects in this movie is pretty great.
That's an interesting way to make money. That you could back in those days, you could pay for a house like that. And it's like, well, how did you pay for a house? I've negotiated a contract where I
bee stings or a movie.
I got $1,000 every time my bee stung me.
And I put a down payment on the house I'm living in right now with that. Smart man, that Tony Todd. He got his lawyer to negotiate that. So smart man. And as far as Virginia Madsen, she's got not as much in the mouth, but she's laying there with bees around her as well for that sequence. And she was allergic to bees, so they had to get specifically bred ones that were literally like days old. I mean, very young bees that didn't even have their stingers developed yet, so that they could crawl over her without stinging her. So these are very specific bred bees just for this movie with the handler, and she also has the kind of pheromone spray to keep them calm, to where they're just kind of crawling around. But again, you got to be very still. You can't swat at them. You can't freak out. You have to lay very still. So I don't know, Richie. Proposal $1,000 per bee sting. Are you taking it up on it? How's your financial situation? No.
A bee, I don't know, like it'd hurt, but it'd be better if I've been stung by a bee and it sucks, but it's better than getting stung by a wasp. I'll say that.
No, wasp and yellow jackets suck. Those are horrible. Yeah, I've been stung by a yellow jacket on the bottoms of my thumbs and my palms one time when I was pulling myself up, on a hike one time, and got me there was one sitting on the log that I was pulling myself up and just got me really bad. Man, that thing just irritated for 3 days. It was bad. So
I don't know. I could be tempted. I guess I reckon I could be tempted too. I'm glad Virginia Madsen found out knew prior that she was allergic to bees. Imagine working out that you're allergic to bees during this
after the fact. Yeah.
Oh god, your face is just blue.
Right. yeah, but they did take precautions, so it was specially bred bees, so that's a good check. The opening shot of the sweeping shot of Chicago was revolutionary. A new camera called Skycam was used for that, and it's a pretty great shot, overlooking Chicago, kind of in this helicopter going across. Very, very good shot. So new technology there. The concept in this movie, Richie, of somebody crawling through the medicine cabinet into an apartment seems a little far-fetched, but it was actually based on real Chicago murders that happened, where a guy went around to different apartment buildings crawling through medicine cabinets and killing people. It was a real
into
another apartment. Yes, this is based on a real thing that Bernard Rose read about in Chicago that really happened a few years before, and he incorporated this concept into the movie. And it's a pretty terrifying concept if you think about it. If you didn't know, you have some kind of hole basically behind your medicine cabinet in your bathroom, and somebody crawling in and taking you out in your own home is a pretty scary concept.
That seems like a harrowing design flaw.
Yeah, no, definitely. So that one's there. Cabrini Green, the projects that are used in this movie was very much a real place, and they really shot at Cabrini Green and for a good chunk of this movie. Unfortunately, they had to deal with the real gangs that were a part of the Cabrini Green. As they were shooting them, they negotiated with the gangs, paid them a little bit of money to leave them alone, and also casted some of them as extras in the bonfire scene and said, "You can be in our movie. You can be in our movie. Just let us do our thing." And they agreed. So if you see some extras running around, they are some of the real sort of gang members and people kind of hanging around the real Cabrini Green. So hey, sometimes you just talk to them and maybe you can work something out. And then final thing is Tony Todd took a lot of inspiration from Phantom of the Opera for his performance. He wanted to do his own kind of version of the Phantom, sort of an elegant, villain that has a little bit of class to him, but can also be brutal when they need to be, and that sort of thing. So
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So that's most of the stuff that I have kind of behind the scenes. But yeah, we'll start talking about the actual movie. And yeah, I mean, we've got this, concept where the basic setup of this is that Virginia Madsen plays Helen, of course, as they mentioned many, many times during this, including the main theme that we hear throughout the thing, the dun 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 dun. It's literally called Helen's theme on the soundtrack, so that's the one you'll see the covers of. It was always you, Helen. But yeah, so her and her friend are doing a thesis on sort of urban legends. Her friend played by Cassie Lemons as Bernadette, who was she's had an okay little career. She was in the Whitney Houston movie most recently, that I Want to Dance with Somebody movie. But yeah, they're kind of teaming up. They're working on this thesis, but they're a little late on it. They're trying to figure out an idea. They're kind of got a little bit of writer's block, and they start hearing rumblings from people at the university about Candyman, about this legend of this killer who comes through the mirror or whatever you want to do, when you call his name out, and he murders people. And it's almost, Richie, kind of similar to they talk about in this movie how the lore of Candyman, it's more of like the people being afraid of him, giving his power. They almost like a Freddy Krueger kind of concept, the people being afraid of him and conjuring him, in this supernatural way. It's very similar to Freddy a little bit.
Yeah. So you have to avoid knowing that he's around, but having to, and be sort of being the elephant in the room, but you can't talk about it and too much, otherwise, yeah. So yeah, there's this like, sort of omnipresence, like like Freddy. So yeah, there is that sort of vibe to it. Yeah.
No, and it's very similar because I had just rewatched Freddy versus Jason, and there's a big thing in that movie about the police department and the local government, like basically killing the any mention of Freddy so that he loses his power, and everybody's on Hypnosil, and we just don't say his name because that way nobody will ever definitely be afraid of him or dream about him. So I mean, it's a very similar concept in this movie, but Candyman has to kill these people who conjure him, so it keeps kind of the myth going, and whatnot, and keeps people kind of talking about all these unexplained murders and everything, that the police kind of explain away through different circumstances and whatnot. We'll get into it because that plays into Helen's psychosis throughout the movie and the things she gets framed for. Does Xander Berkeley always play an asshole, Richie? It sure seems like it in every movie.
He's pretty much a asshole through. Yeah, it seems like it, and he's an asshole here. So yeah, I don't know. I hopefully he's a decent dude and real life, but maybe there's a reason for it.
Literally the year before this, he plays kind of that asshole stepdad in T2, if you remember.
Yeah.
It was like, thought you told a kid to rid of that fucking butt, like when he gets stabbed in the face. Second movie, in a year where he gets murdered horribly. We'll talk about it and gets torn up. So he kind of plays Helen's. I can't remember. Is it husband or fiance or something like that? I can't. I don't know if I was clear. They live together for sure.
They live together. I don't know whether not sure if they're married. I thought maybe they're together anyway. I'm not sure, but yeah.
They both have the same last name in this one. Looking at the cast, Trevor and Helen.
Okay, so
they're married. Yeah, they are a married couple. But he is a college professor, and we get very early on, the plant that he's got an eyes for one of his students. It's one of those situations because we'll see her later. But yeah, they're and Helen's not stupid. She picks up on it very quickly that they're being kind of flirty, and he tries to brush it off, but she knows there's something there, because she keeps kind of giving him the doe eyes. Like, of all people, Xander Berkeley, though, really the balding, not the most attractive guy in the world. I don't know. I guess.
And I think it was around that time too. But like you'd have these subplots, but even if I don't know. I feel like if that sort of happened in a movie today, like the university to investigate. That's a bit gross. You probably shouldn't sleep with your students, but I don't know. Where it's now, then it was just like, it's I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure maybe it's just a convenient thing. It's like maybe she's if you see someone so many times, you're like you develop some sort of attraction. But yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine he's like considered a catch, but different strokes, different folks, I guess. I don't know.
I guess she's into that half balding, older guy look. I guess. Yeah. But I failed to mention we did have kind of an opening kill. As they're kind of weaving the tale of this Candyman, where of all people, which I forgot about, Ted Raimi, in a cameo at the beginning, which granted he was in a lot of horror movies and little cameos and little bit roles, but I forgot he played kind of the boyfriend in that little opening, with the girl where she, they're kind of daring each other to go in the bathroom and say it. He's downstairs and she gets ripped apart, and the blood's kind of dripping through the ceiling. I mean, it's a cool sequence for what it is. It's enough of a tease where we don't actually we see Tony Todd, but very, very briefly. It's like a flash, very, very, very brief kind of thing. And I'm assuming he gets blamed for the murder because we never see him again. But I'm assuming he got, or at least suspected.
He says it. He says Candyman 4 times, and then he just says, I met her, and he just goes downstairs, and then she says it again. It's like, it is kind of his fault, really. He didn't commit to it. They did say that he got away, but he was never the same again. So I don't know whether they fully blamed him, but they did imply that he had a shift in
PTSD type. Yeah, maybe a PTSD type situation, trauma kind of situation, something like that. Yeah. Or did he say it enough, and her conjuring him in the same house, did it cause kind of a similar psychosis to what Helen goes through? later in the movie that we just don't see. Maybe he went crazy in a mental institution or something. You never know. Like maybe he was
I don't know.
kind of pseudo haunted by him. I don't know. Maybe they kind of imply certain things, but never really flat out say it.
I don't, and they don't really cover it in the sequels, do they?
No. The sequels, the only returning character is Tony Todd. Yeah, that's only it. Yeah, it follows all new characters. So they decide they kind of start digging around on this Candyman thing. It takes them to Cabrini Green. They keep talking about all these different characters and weird things and deaths that have happened at Cabrini Green, including a lady who died there as well. They're kind of going to investigate. They run into a very young Vanessa Williams. This is 1992 Vanessa Williams. So I mean, this is very, very early in her career. And to her credit, she came back for the 2021 movie. So full credit on that. But yeah, I mean, this is she's had quite the career for herself, obviously, been in quite a few movies. But yeah, they run into her and she's got a baby Anthony, a character that will also come back. We could talk about in the 2021 movie, which is why it's a sequel. It's a legacy sequel. It's not a full reboot. They do follow the original storyline here.
I mean, Halloween Kills. How what's his name?
The different characters that kind of come back. Anthony Michael Hall and all those people.
Anthony Michael Hall's the kid in the and is it Halloween? Was it?
Yeah, the other guy's Lonnie, the kid who messed with him and made him break his pumpkin. Yeah, there's characters that they're playing characters from the original movie that come back. Yeah, minor characters and whatnot. Yeah. So yeah, no, it is absolutely a continuation. But yeah, she's kind of also, she doesn't really want to talk to them. She thinks they're cops, which I think is funny. Everybody thinks they're like I don't know. What is they are like vice cops or something?
I don't see how they give off a cop vibe. They're not they don't dress like cops. I guess I don't know, maybe investigators or something. I don't know. They don't look that official necessarily. I don't know. Yeah. So
But they dig around. She takes some pictures. They do a couple things. She meets a little kid there that kind of that she'll run into later. But yeah, they go back and they have this dinner scene with a guy named Archie, who is Bernard Rose, by the way. If you didn't know who the guy with the long hair spinning the Candyman tail at the table, the dinner table, that is the director, Bernard Rose. He's also an actor. So and he gives us the exposition dump, if you will, Richie.
Yeah. It's in the trailer, yeah.
Yeah. Hey. You guys are interested in Candyman. Let me give you all the exposition you need to know about Daniel Robitaille and who this guy is. But we find out it's that Tony Todd is playing a guy named Daniel Robitaille, who was the son of a slave, and he became a painter, but ended up having a relationship with a white woman, getting her pregnant, and then the slave owner sent a lynch mob after him, and they messed him up pretty good. It says they mauled him up really good. They beat him up. They cut off his arm and stuck the hook in his arm, which is where you get that, and then they let bees sting him to death. Sounds like a pretty rough day for Daniel Robitaille. Yeah, that is about as worst death as you can get on somebody. It's pretty bad.
Did this movie also inspire, I Know What You Did Last Summer with the hook in the hand and stuff like that?
I mean, they did the hook thing before them, 5 years before. So, I would imagine maybe. But then again, they try to, but I Know What You Did Last Summer. He's like a fisherman, right? So it's like a fishing hook thing, that they used to carry the fish. But yeah, I don't know where the hook thing came from, but it works because, Freddy's got, the glove, Jason has the machete, Michael uses the butcher knife, and Candyman has a hook for a hand, and not a corny little tiny one, like a Captain Hook, Passage Ray, but this thing is long, it's just like one of these.
It would do you damage, yeah.
Yeah, no, it would if you stuck that into somebody, it's going to do some business. So yeah, it's a great look for what it is. But yeah, so we get kind of that exposition dump. She kind of goes back to Cabrini Green, and then they have. I would think is one of the more kind of disturbing scenes in the movie is the bathroom scene, the outside one, the one outside the apartment complex.
Yeah.
Yeah, where she goes into maybe the most disgusting bathroom I've ever seen in a movie, or one of them for sure.
Yeah.
where there's
Yeah.
just shit smeared all over the walls and everything, and people have been writing in it apparently, writing messages with it, which is weird. But yeah, we get a weird little tease where there's a guy who comes in sort of dressed like Tony Todd and says he's the Candyman, but he's clearly just kind of a gang guy, and they beat her up, man. Like it's kind of disturbing.
She get like it's remarkable that she can see after that, but and then
she literally gets like her eye swollen shut. I mean, it looks like a Rocky movie. Like she is completely just like swollen shut. And apparently they did film Richie a more extended scene where they show kind of the beating, but I think it's more effective to just like, we don't need to see that. I don't think it's necessary. We have violence in other ways, in the movie. I don't think we need that type of violence. I mean, do you agree with me? Do you disagree? I think just to cut to her with her eye just mauled and swollen shut is all you need. You don't
need like you can get across like the depravity and the evil, the evilness of of what they did without like kind of you can like without showing too much. I think like if I think sometimes showing showing fewer things is actually more effective. So
because they pull away and do I think the more effective thing of just leaving it in your imagination. You just hear her screaming and you hear some punches and whatnot, off screen, and then the cut to the aftermath I think is sometimes more effective than actually showing it full on. But yeah, I mean that guy does get arrested, so I mean it's assumed that he's in jail now and he's been terrorizing people for a little while, so good on him. But yeah, and not shortly after that though, we get since. As he explained it, you're trying to discredit, my legend and explain things away with this guy. Tony Todd's got to take a little action, and we get our first real look at Tony Todd as the Candyman in this parking garage sequence, or as you would call it, Richie, a car park. But yes, the car park sequence, where she's at her car and she I like what they do here because they do like. She's like hypnotized by him. It's very like vampire-esque, where she's like kind of just she's locked in on him and he has some kind of hypnosis power over her to kind of lock into her brain. It's really interesting. Yeah.
I like that. I like that sort of that introduction and how like just sort of the power he it perfectly conveyed to those the power he sort of wields over can wield over like people, especially her. So I thought this was effective.
Yeah, no, and you get again these great shots of Tony Todd, and again that's where you need somebody with his size, and his sort of physical presence. Because I pulled it up, like the first real shot we get to see is this long shot of him just kind of standing there, with his arms folded back in the jacket, and just that look he has, and he immediately conveys like this guy who's in control, who knows exactly what he's doing. He's very calculated, not trying to, jump up to you and go boo. It's more of this slow intimidation of like, I'm gonna get into your head, and mess with you a little bit, and it's really, really cool. His introduction. I think the whole scene is great.
And I don't think Eddie it would convey the same way as Eddie Murphy. I mean, again, you just sort of see him as a comedy guy. So I think having Tony Todd, a guy who was like relatively, kind of new at the time, and with that sort of, intimidating presence, I think it sort of works.
Yeah, no, like we said, the voice is what is key because, it's clearly like sort of ADR later, obviously to kind of enhance it. But, he's got, as he's stepping towards her, he's got the hook hand out. There's a way he kind of slowly walks and like approaches her, as like this impending sense of dread. It's really great. And yeah, the line just the be my victim, and like with that deep voice, it's really great. Yeah, it just wouldn't work if you didn't have somebody with that kind of that voice, and obviously Tony Todd would go on to do other, big voice roles. I mean, if you remember, he was the Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. He was the voice of the Fallen. You know that character. Yeah, which that movie's not great, but his voice is always fun to hear. I know the last couple of years, he was in some of those DC animated movies, those Justice League Dark movies, the Apocalypse. Yeah, he was Darkseid, which is like perfect casting. With Tony Todd, Candyman's voice doing Darkseid. Just Lord Darkseid. Just
when we were doing the Matrix recast, I thought about him for Morpheus just because of the voice and.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely got the voice and again that presence. It's just like, would he be a big enough star for like a Matrix type thing? I don't know.
But it did cross my mind though. So
no, for sure. But yeah, he's definitely got that voice. He's really great. I know I know I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit. I believe he still filmed his parts for the new Final Destination movie, so we at least get one more look at Bloodworth, his character, in that Final Destination movie. I believe he had filmed something for that. So, we will at least get to see it. That might be his final role. We never know. But, again, another role that a lot of people know him from is those appearances in the Final Destination movies, which is a cool character that shows up for a scene or two. He does his thing. He intimidates the hell out of you and scares you a little bit. And he gets out. It's great.
Yeah, and it sort of shows how how much screen presence he has, because like you said, that it's very his role in it is very, very small, but integral. It's integral, but it's very small. So that's probably why we love those movies. But obviously, Candyman is the media role. But but it just shows you how how memorable he is in his presences in movies that people talk about that when he's only in some of those he's only in for literally 30 seconds. So that's that's what there he is. There's Death.
No. I mean, the stuff in the first movie where he kind of does the death exposition stuff, and then he just looks at him and does I'll see you soon. It's just Jesus. What the hell is that guy all about? But yeah, I at least we'll get to see him one more time, play that role, because it has been filmed. So we'll get to see him once more. But yeah, kind of getting back on track. Yeah, they have this scene in the parking garage. She gets hypnotized, she blacks out. And she wakes up and she is just covered in blood. There's blood everywhere. We don't know what's going on. There's a dog head in the hallway.
What did I do last night, man?
Yeah, she's like, oh my God, man. Yeah, well, I was drinking. Man, I was drank heavily last night. I don't remember a damn thing. Yeah, what kind of party? But no, Vanessa Williams. She's in Vanessa Williams' apartment. She's screaming. There's blood literally everywhere, including by the crib. You wonder if the kid is dead. If she killed the kid. We find out later she didn't. Anthony is missing, but damn, it sure looks like something happened in there. But yeah, she basically gets kind of framed for Anthony's disappearance and the killing of this dog and this whole terrorizing home invasion type situation. It's a pretty gnarly scene. A lot of blood.
Yeah, because she that's the first thing that Vanessa Williams sees is her with
a meat cleaver.
A meat cleaver, and she's bleeding, and then trying to attack her, and then obviously trying to defend herself, and then that's the only thing the police sees her lunging over her with a fucking meat, a meat cleaver. So yeah, and then basically spends. So then mental health professionals and police just gaslight her for most of the movie. She spends most of the time in confinement.
Yeah. But yeah, it's gonna start out this kind of this subplot of Helen, everybody thinking she's, this psycho killer, who's going around killing people, or at least people are dying around her. But nobody can see the Candyman except her. So, she can't, I like these types of movies where, somebody is sort of going through a situation or losing their minds, but nobody else, can kind of see the thing that they're seeing, or
Smile is a probably more example.
Smile is a very modern example of that. Somebody that's seeing people smiling at them, some kind of crazy thing is happening, other supernatural thing, but the other people around them think you're just losing your damn mind. So I like this as a concept because you can play with somebody just kind of going crazy. It did remind me a lot of Smile. Thanks Flett for joining us, Kyle Flett, who I've been on his channel. We talked about Freddy vs. Jason. I did it at that watch along over on his channel. Go check that out. We kind of start the subplot Xander Berkeley kind of bails her out. She comes back, but it kind of starts out. There's no real let up. It's kind of the movie's kind of 100 miles an hour once you get to it. It's a little bit of a slow burn, Richie. Kind of the first act, kind of putting everything in place. The Cabrini Green stuff, the urban legend, the characters. But like once that first, she wakes up and we get that first big appearance of the Candyman, and she wakes up with that. I mean, we're pretty much like foot on the gas, for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. No, the movie kind of I felt like it moves along pretty well. I know it's like at the start, I think it's slow burn for a reason, but I enjoyed the pacing of this film.
Yeah, no, it's a proper setup, but yeah, we get going because she gets back to the apartment. She gets cut again by the Candyman, passes out. Bernadette, her friend, comes by, and she gets slaughtered by the Candyman as well. Again, pretty brutally. She gets like gutted, like pretty much right through her chest or her back, one of the two, where she just like top to bottom, it's pretty damn brutal. We hear her screams and just see the aftermath.
You see a sort of glimpse of it in that trailer you posted, like you see it like a body, it's just it's pretty. So there's no hope in saving her. Yeah, she did.
No, she did. And again, props to the makeup department and everything. Yeah, the blood effects are great. It's all real. Some of the makeup they do, as far as when the aftermath of people getting torn up and all that, is all really, really good. So hats off to the makeup department on this movie. It's great. But once again, Xander Berkeley is there, sees her with a knife in her hand. Quit picking up knives and sharp things when these things happen, Helen, because you seem to get caught with your pants down every time with some kind of supposed murder weapon in your hand. It happens pretty quickly. This time she gets admitted to a mental institution. And there's a time jump because they mentioned just very casually she's been drugged for like a month after this. They drugged her up to like calm her down, and basically we've had her strapped to a table for a month, just jacked up on Thorazine. There's a little bit of a kind of a crazy time jump, but she's now in the mental institution, Richie, and that's never a good thing when you're trying to convince the doctor at the mental hospital that somebody's messing with your head. That always goes over well.
Drugged up for a month, just like I guess she's passed out for a month, because how do you supposed to go to the bathroom? I guess it's like
bedpans or IVs and bedpans, I'd imagine. I mean, maybe it's like the substance where she's just in a room, just having fluid tugged out of her, pumped into her, while she's just laying there. I don't know.
It's weird. But it seems to be like a very. I feel like that's a very extreme measure to go to. I know, obviously, if you think she thinks she's crazy, you think she's crazy. But I feel like that's like a last resort type of thing that you'd go to drug someone for a month.
I mean, but to be fair, two people, in a couple of days, showed up dead around her, and they think she's like a serial killer at this point. So, who knows? I mean, maybe not that extreme, but she meets with this doctor, like kind of her psychiatrist that's assigned to her. Of course, he doesn't really believe her, but he's going to try to figure her out before, she stands in front of a judge and see if she's competent to stand trial. And she gets the bright idea. Oh, it's okay. I'll prove it to you. Let me look over at the mirror off to the side and just and say Candyman 5 times, and not a good idea because Candyman is summoned, and boy does he gut the shit out of this
he's struggling for a while too.
No, it's pretty rough. And he continues to say, be my victim, basically submit to me and I'll stop killing people and you can get the baby back. That's that cool shot where he gets kind of flies out the window, but it looks like he gets kind of pulled back, out the window. You see it in the trailer a little bit. It's a pretty cool little shot where, Tony Todd just goes flying back out the window. But again, kind of got this ultimatum. But at the same time, he frees her before he leaves because, hey, he can be a fugitive now. And come on back. She's got to get back to Cabrini Green somehow. She can't, do what she's got to do, strapped to a gurney. So do what you got to do.
And it was the cool way he freed her too. It's like ching,
Yeah, no, he just snaps the things off with his hooks, pow, pow. Yeah, just flicks it off and gives her the ultimatum. But yeah, she's a fugitive now. So we get that brief scene before she goes to Cabrini Green. She heads back to the apartment to go talk to Xander Berkeley, and all within that month, chick from the college is like moved in.
She's moved in.
They're painting the house pink, which is disgusting. I agree with Helen. She makes a comment about it. She's like, horrible color scheme. I agree. Pink interior
I
is
don't
not a
think
good for a house.
Unless you're like, and the only time you should paint your house pink is if you're on the Barbie set.
That's what I mean. Yeah, unless you live in Barbie land. Yeah, that's the only time where I think it's acceptable to paint the inside of your house pink. Yeah, it's really, really bad. And he's running around in a robe. She's got like a little tank top on or something. And it's a whole situation. She's like, a month? You couldn't even wait a month? So I mean, I don't blame her for that part. It's like Jesus. But yeah, that's what he's doing.
I bet he didn't even wait a week.
Oh no, he didn't wait. He didn't wait 2 days. He found out she was going to be drugged up for the next month. He went, "All right, come on over, sweetheart." Yeah, no, he was damn near ready. So, and not like in his defense, but in all likelihood, she's going to jail for the rest of her life because everybody's pretty convinced she killed both of these people. You know what I mean? Like, and she's got murder weapons in her hands, blood all over. You know what I mean? Like, they're pretty convinced she's going to jail. So, I mean, he didn't really expect her to show back up at the apartment. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I mean, it's a shitty thing to do, but at the same time, it's like she, in all likelihood, she wasn't coming back. So, regardless. But yeah, so she goes to go try to find Anthony. She finds the Candyman and Anthony and like his little lair in the areas behind those medicine cabinets and whatnot. But yeah, this is where we get the bee scene, and yeah, it's pretty astonishing because this scene's pretty much burning in my brain. But every time I'm just like, God, he's got real bees in his mouth. That's insane, and not just like 2 bees, 3 bees. I mean, there's like 100 in his mouth. I mean, it's insanity how many bees. And Helen, she's laying there. There's hundreds of bees flying around and landing and crawling over. I mean, it's pretty nuts, Richie. Like, it's insane. I
don't even think the Jackass crew would do that.
No, they've done bee stuff. I know they did a beehive tetherball for like Jackass #2, I think. Where they were tethered.
They did one on Jackass, the latest one too, where like Steve had like a whole bunch of bees around his like he
wore like the cup and like the little jock strap or whatever, and had bees all over the bee underwear or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, even then, I don't know, like that was just for a few minutes. I mean, apparently, on set, I mean, Virginia Madsen had to lay there for half an hour. All these bees crawled over her. I don't know if I could do it, man. I get freaked out if a fly lands on my hand. I'm like, get the hell off me. So it's a pretty astonishing. We see like the rib cage thing is pretty cool. Like the design when he opens up his jacket and it's like this like open rib cage with the bees coming out. That looks pretty cool. For Candyman, looks pretty all right.
Yeah, man, that was pretty awesome. Pretty all right.
But yeah, and then they he kind of thinks she's gonna make this deal with her where she's gonna be basically his lover of sorts, I guess, because what it reminded me of, Richie, is actually The Mummy. You know how the Mummy's going after like reincarnated Anaxuna Moon or whatever, in those movies, and the one that reminds him of his old love. It was like because he says something about she looks like or is like the one back in the 1890s that he had, and it's like, you're gonna be my lady, or is she? Because they don't say it, but is she like a reborn version of this girl? I don't know. Like it seems like he definitely picks her up for a reason.
Or maybe they just, looks like, I don't know, just a doppelganger. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't 100% sure on that, but I think maybe it's especially shrouded in mystery.
Yeah, but they're going to create kind of a new urban legend, so to speak, to keep kind of everything going. He says he's going to turn Helen into kind of a way. And the way he's going to do that is, he's going to make her try to save baby Anthony in the middle of this like bonfire they're doing outside of the projects, where they're burning like all the old furniture and just all this scraps and everything from all these different I guess projects or construction they've been working on. I guess it's something they kind of imply they do almost every year, or at least every couple of years. But yeah, they set this bonfire and Helen's got to crawl around in the middle of this thing. And one other fun fact I found about the bonfire sequence is that the filmmakers, since everything was real fire and this was like a real big giant bonfire and it can get out of control pretty quickly, they hired the same fire team that did Backdraft the year before to handle the scene. So you know what? Hey, good on them, because those are definitely the pros when it comes to fire stunts.
You'd want, that's a smart idea.
Yeah, no, very, very intelligent on them. So they're the ones kind of controlling and doing everything, but she's crawling kind of in the middle of this thing. She stabs Candyman with kind of a flaming, piece of wood, and she gets the baby out of there, but she gets burned to death. I mean, she gets burned and she gets torn.
There's like a big plank of like, I think there's like a big plank
something
of wood
that comes down on her. Yeah,
tumbles down on her. It's, oh god, yeah.
No, it's kind of implied they like breaks her back and then burns her up pretty good. She when she kind of half crawls out of there, her hair is like pretty much already gone. It's burned off. She looks pretty gnarly. For what it is. Good makeup to the makeup effect. But yeah, baby Anthony is saved, but Helen dies. It's again another one of those unusual things where she supposedly looks like she takes the villain with her, but our protagonist doesn't make it out of here. Richie saves the baby, but doesn't make it. Our final girl does not last.
Yeah,
so, kind of unusual.
I did. You do feel like a sense of, like early on though, like this is one of those movies that has no like, there's no like sense of optimism at all. It's just like, just dread after dread after dread. It's like I don't think there's any way the protagonist is going to get out of the situation at all. So yeah, it's like. It's shocking, but not in the same way, because it's just the situation that it's just like there's no way, there's no other outcome. Is it really?
No, I mean, realistically, because the Candyman, if you summon him, he's gonna get you eventually. That's what I mean, most of the time it's pretty quickly, like almost immediately. But in this thing, it seems like he's gonna win, and he basically does. And she we don't really at first know exactly what happened to her. We just know that she's gone, and they're both kind of gone. We get almost what feels like kind of a epilogue here. After the funeral, we get like an epilogue with Xander Berkeley and his squeeze, who's clearly not wearing a bra underneath her shirt for the sequence, because she is all out in the sequence. But he's in the bathroom. He's kind of grieving, I guess, a little bit, or at least feels bad, maybe at least a little bit that she's dead, and he's kind of shaking his head. But he in the process says Helen over and over again, says it 5 times, and she is summoned like the Candyman, and she has her own kind of little sort of Candyman powers, and she. At least he gets it, because she guts him as well. Pretty nasty in the bathroom. Yeah, she gets
it. I guess justice prevailed. I don't know.
I mean, I guess at least the asshole of the movie, got his. So it is what it is. We had to wrap that up. You couldn't just end the movie without Xander Berkeley, getting something coming to him. You know what I mean? At least something. But it works, and she's got this look where her hair is burned off, and she's kind of burned, burn scars all over, things like that. And they've got a mural of her in that hangout, and she's going to be part of the new sort of urban legend, lore and whatnot, of Helen, saving this baby, or possibly this killer who saved this baby, whatever the story is going to be, this crazy psycho serial killer that killed everybody but saved this baby, I guess. You know what I mean? It makes for a hell of a story, right?
Yeah.
whatever the story is going to be. They kind of dig into it a little bit in the sequel, the Legacy sequel. I'll talk about it in that.
Probably depends what news network you tune into. Like if it's Fox News, kill a woman, kidnaps baby, and then mercifully dies or something. I don't know.
Well, or if it's Nancy Grace, it's this woman, she did not save this. She was trying to kill a baby. Okay, she went back to the place of the crime and just trying to finish the job she started. Okay.
Now let's talk to a bunch of people that agree with me.
Yeah, let me bring out my panel, none of which are going to disagree with me at all. I agree with everything I say. I can't stand Nancy Grace. She's horrible.
I don't. I didn't know much. I didn't know much about her until I visited America 2007 or something, and then flicking through channels and she was on, and then I was like watched 10 minutes of her. I'm like, my god, okay.
She's the worst, yeah. And she was all over when the Casey Anthony thing happened. The mom and her kid, the one that was killed, the one who got acquitted. Yeah, she was all over that. Yeah,
and she was all over the Benoit thing too.
Oh yeah, no, she was. You'll see. Yeah, you can go back and look at YouTube clips. She was all over the Chris Benoit thing. Yeah, 100%. So yeah, no, she's pretty horrible. So she's not a good person. Yeah, she would be all over the situation. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, but yeah, and that's pretty much the wrap up of Candyman. And yeah, I mean, it's interesting, sort of. The franchise, if you will, that this kind of spawned. Again, kind of a lesser seen franchise. I have seen I've seen Farewell to the Flesh, the direct sequel. I have not seen Day of the Dead, which I know is the worst one, the third one. So I own Farewell to the Flesh. I don't own the third one, but I've heard it so bad I just haven't dug into it yet. I'll get around to it at some point. But yeah, I was going to mainly talk about, I rewatched the Nia DaCosta one from a few years ago, because I was really, when I initially heard about the movie, and again, it has that thing you and me both hate, where they name the sequel the same as the fucking. I hate it. I hate that. I hate it. It's a why couldn't you call it, Richie?
Candyman Legacy or something.
Candyman Legacy, Candyman Reborn, whatever you want to call it. You know what I mean? Like there's cliche, subtitles you can use. Final Destination Bloodlines, like the new one. It's like, what are we doing? Like, like how many Bloodline movies are there? There's like 6 of them in the horror community. It's silly, but still. Like
Candyman Resurrection.
Yeah, Candyman Legacy, because the Legacy sequel would be a perfectly acceptable name. Candyman Legacy. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it works because in that movie, that title worked because they talk about sort of the legacy of the Candyman and they expand on it. Did you see that movie, Richie? Did you watch it?
Yeah, I need to give it a rewatch, but yeah, I watched it when it came out of the theater.
Yeah, no, it holds up, man. It works. I really dig it. I think it's really well shot. It's really well directed. Great score. Yahya Abdul-Mateen he's excellent in the movie. I forgot again because he's just kind of getting more famous now. But Coleman Domingo is like the exposition guy in that movie, which I forgot about. Again, you go back into these movies and before you knew who they were. Now, because of the movies they've been in now, like he's all over the place now. This is kind of before he was famous.
Yeah. But I probably should. I'll definitely give it a rewatch at some point. I don't know if they're going to do a sequel to that movie, but yeah.
I don't think so because I mean it wraps up pretty definitively. But I kind of like what they did there, where they sort of do this explanation that Daniel Robitaille wasn't the only Candyman. Like Candyman is kind of a concept for somebody who had an injustice done to them, or something like that in a particularly vicious way. Because it's like this guy Sherman in the 2021, the other guy who like gave out the candy, Cabrini Green, or was like framed for a murder that he didn't commit. They talk about 2 other ones that they show during the credits. Like they do this little, if you remember, they do those like kind of little paper mache silhouette things, to tell the story. They do 2 more of them over the credits because they explain there's like 5 Candyman total if you include Yahya Abdul-Mateen as the 5th one, the new one. But yeah, they sort of explain that Candyman is more of a concept than just like one person, and there have been like multiple Candyman. So, this one focuses on a different one, which I don't mind. I mean, it's not a bad like concept for a thing that they get these like powers to wrong, injustices or something like that. It's not bad.
You could do a whole cinematic universe and get them to fight.
Yeah, all in the fight against each other. Yeah, a bunch of Candyman fighting. But yeah, I remember seeing that movie, just waiting for Tony Todd to show up, and he doesn't really until sort of the very end. They do a thing where Yaya Abdul-Mateen kind of morphs into Tony Todd, and then he just says, tell my story, something like that. So, but it's a cool little button on it, to honor. And his presence is kind of all over the movie. They talk about the Daniel Robitaille character. His presence is kind of on the movie. He just isn't physically.
Yeah, he's there without being there. Sort of like I don't know, like Jack Torrance in Doctor Sleep, I guess. You know what I mean? Like he's like,
yeah. It's kind of around, but yeah, you just don't see a lot of him.
Yeah.
No, but it's a cool legacy. I think it's a really solid movie. It worked for me on a second rewatch. Again, the performances are good. It's brilliantly directed. It's very well directed. I was surprised how there's some really cool stuff in that movie. I think it kind of honors the legacy while doing what a good sequel should do, expanding on it a little bit. Expanding the mythology, a little bit, and doing it in a good way. So, if you haven't gone back and rewatched the 2021 one, or if you haven't seen it at all, I would give it a thumbs up and I recommend. I dug it.
Yeah, I'll give it. I did because I was at the library earlier today, and I did see it there, and I almost rented it again. So but I might go back and do that. So
no, I have the popped in my Blu-ray. Today, but yeah, it's good stuff there. Getting back to this one, just sort of. You want to wrap up sort of your final thoughts on your rewatch here? I never, by the way, asked you about your history with this movie, but I think you're kind of similar to me, probably, where it hasn't been like a movie in big rotations. I've only kind of watched it here and there. You're
it's
probably
not rotations.
That, right?
This was like my third or fourth watch. It's not like I haven't seen it like a lot. But yeah, I think I remember watching it because probably around like the time where I was like. I started watching like slash movies probably way before I should have, but like my parents didn't care about watching what I watched for the most part. So I'd rent sort of slash movies and sort of those adjacent movies from video store, or go to get parents to watch it. And I think I heard about Candyman through that, and then that's when I watched Candyman. So yeah, and I had watched it a couple of times between that since then, probably around Halloween. Also, probably I think I did watch it around the time the sequel, the Legacy sequel came out. But while let's say it's not as iconic as some of the other sort of the horror characters or horror films you've mentioned, I think it's still really good. It's still very I think he's still a great villain, very very ominous, and I think. Yeah, Tony Todd definitely makes that movie. It's like perfect casting, and I really enjoyed going back to this. Surprised Virginia Madsen didn't become a bigger star out of this. I've only seen
because she's a working actress. She's had constant work, but she never reached any kind of A-list or anything like that. You know what I mean? She never got there.
Yeah, no, I only saw her in bit parts, and I feel like she was like the wife of Harrison Ford in one of his worst movies, Firewall. If you ever watched that.
Oh, yeah. She was in The Rainmaker. Just for a couple of scenes. Like you said, she's in Sideways for a little bit, so she's in there. Yeah, she's in A Prairie Home Companion. She's done quite a number of horror movies. Actually, she's kind of a low key. Sort of horror queen. She's in a movie called Zombie High. She's in Candyman. She's in. I was looking through this. She's in The Prophecy, the Christopher Walken movie. That sort of horror movie. Like I said, just scrolling through, she's in. She's in the Number 23 with Jim Carrey.
She's the wife.
Yeah, she's the wife in that one. She's in The Haunting in Connecticut. So I mean, she's done her share of horror movies. So I mean, she's still not opposed to jumping into a horror movie. She has a brief voice cameo in the 2021 movie. She's just Abdul-Mateen's listening to some voice tape she made, and she came back to do her voice for that, but she's not physically in the movie. She's just kind of a little voice cameo, but she did do it for that. She was in Pray for the Devil 2 years ago, that really bad sort of exorcism movie. She's she's been in her fair share of horror movies, and again, she's on lots of TV shows. She still makes a lot of appearances. She was a main character on that Swamp Thing show that only went one season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, she's still very much working. She pops up in a lot of stuff. She's just not in a lot of big mainstream stuff. You know what I mean? She's still working though, so she's still around. Still around.
Yeah. No, but yeah, no, she was absolutely quite good in this. And I enjoyed my rewatch, and I thought it was a good time. And the pace, like you said, it kind of flew by for me. So that's always good. So it's probably never going to be like one of my favorite horror movies, one that I pop in a lot, but it's one that I revisit every couple of years. I very much enjoyed my rewatch today. I just forget that this movie's it's really well shot. It's almost like, I hate that term, Richie, elevated horror, because I think it's just, there's good horror, there's bad horror. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really like that term. It's like either a good movie or a bad movie, or you're just entertaining, or you're entertaining bad, or whatever. But I would almost say that term was around in the 90s. This might be called elevated horror, I think, with the score, the direction, and some of the acting. It's almost like it's kind of above your average slasher movie. As far as like, it's not just about the Candyman coming in and slashing people left and right. And just killing a bunch of teenagers. I
mean, they literally only do one or two little scenes where it's like, teens or anything is doing it. They do one kind of scene in the 2021 movie where a couple of high school girls summon him in a bathroom. It's kind of a random scene that just kind of comes out of nowhere, but you got to get that body count up because it's a modern movie. It's not just random teens. Like you said, just getting picked off one by one by the Candyman. It's actually like a movie that cares about a protagonist like digging into this and doing more of a psychological horror film mixed with the gore. It's kind of cool in that way, a little more in a kind of a classy fashion. Like we said, I can't praise the score enough. The score I've almost listened to the score more than I've seen the movie. I love the score. The score is great. I listen to the covers and stuff all the time. Just really well shot, really well directed. Great special effects and makeup. A lot of practical stuff around this time. It deserves to be, I think, recognized around one of the better horror movies in the 90s for sure.
No, definitely. I think, I'm glad. I like when I watch these sort of like kind of wouldn't call it underrated, but like not underrated in terms of like maybe not talked about in the in the greatest conversation as far as like 90s goes. So it's good to revisit this and then realizing how good things are. So for sure. And if anything, it always stinks again when we lose somebody like a Tony Todd. But if his death inspires people to maybe who hadn't seen this movie or maybe knew of Candyman but didn't actually watch the movie, maybe it'll inspire them to go actually watch the movie and seek out more of his work. Because even in these lower budget horror movies and whatnot, I tend to forget, and he's really good in that. He did the Night of the Living Dead remake, the Tom Savini one in 1990. He played the lead role, and he's really good in that. He's good in the stuff he pops up in. He was in Platoon, he's in The Rock. He was in his fair share of bigger movies where he kind of plays a side character, but he always kind of stands out. I watched some like, it was like a movie for that podcast used to do. It wasn't. Probably didn't fit the podcast. It wasn't a bad movie. It's about like, because the whole movie was just like sort of this conversation about this dude who was trying to convince them that he was like a 1,000-year-old or like 10,000-year-old like caveman or whatever. So it's called. I can't remember what it's called, but like Tony Todd plays a scientist in that, and then but he's like the standout in that. But so it's like, I don't know. I have to look it up, but I guess the point is that he no matter what like role he's in, he's a standout of the movie. So.
And if you want to see something where he doesn't play like a scary character or some kind of horror movie or anything like that, it's not a movie, but it's a TV episode. Even if you're not into Star Trek, Richie, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, he did an episode where Captain Sisko gets like stuck in a transporter thing, and he's kind of jumping, ahead in time and whatnot. He keeps showing it's almost like the time traveler's wife, where Eric Bana in that movie kind of pops up every like 10 years, for Rachel McAdams. It's a very similar thing where Tony Todd plays Jake Sisko, his son on the show. I don't know if you're familiar with the show at all, but his son was like a primary character as well.
Yeah.
And he plays his grown-up son, Tony Todd does, and it's a really like just straight dramatic emotional role. Every time Captain Sisko kind of pops back in, they have these heart-to-hearts. So if you want to see Tony Todd really stretch his like dramatic chops, he's fantastic in that episode. I'm probably going to give that episode a rewatch. But even if you're not a Star Trek fan, you don't have to be to just enjoy it as a sort of father-son, episode of just a TV show. But he has some really great stuff with that. So I can recommend that if you want to see Tony Todd really stretch his chops and see what he can do. He's a really, really good actor. So and again, unfortunate that he never really broke out of that horror bubble, I think, unfortunately. He got kind of typecast maybe a little bit in that and never became like a bigger, more mainstream actor,
Yeah. I sort of looked up that movie I was talking about. It's from 2007, and I think it came to Sci-Fi probably, but it's The Man from Earth.
The Man from Earth. Oh yeah, I've seen that poster around, so I just don't think I've seen that movie. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, and it's good. Yeah, I think he's the bigger name in it, but yeah, like he's decent in it for what it is. It's also it's got like Richard Riley as well,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. But yeah, I also suggest checking it out because we checked it. We watched it for like, me and my friends like like Tubi thing because it was on Tubi, and then I was like, oh, this is probably not in the vein of those movies. It's not actually a bad movie, but yeah, it was interesting to talk about anyway. But he's just a standout in most of the movies he's in. So and projects he's in. So yeah.
And he was in that horror movie that got a little bit of like a 1 or 2 night release called Stream that had a lot of horror people in it. I didn't get around to that. But I need to watch it.
Is that the one? It's also got Terrified, dude.
David Howard Thornton. Yeah. It had like Dee Wallace in it, Jeffrey Combs, from Reanimator, Danielle Harris, Felissa Rose, who's the chick from Sleepaway Camp. Mark Holton, who was in the Leprechaun movies and the Pee-wee. Daniel Roebuck. So I meant to get around to that one because I don't know if the movie's any good, but I know they filmed it during COVID. It was one of those weird things where they filmed it in the hotel they were at in COVID. They just decided to like make a horror movie. It was kind of cool. It just came out. It had a limited release, but I need to watch it now that it's on streaming. But I guess he has a bit part in that too. So a few of these movies that he's already filmed before he passed away. But again, we do have another Final Destination movie coming. I'm assuming next year. I think they're finally going to release it.
Hopefully. I've heard about that movie for a long time, so
it's as of right now scheduled for 2025. I know it was originally scheduled for like 2023, but I think it's finally actually going to come out. I think it's in post-production, so I think they're done.
Is it a reboot or is it a sequel?
We don't know. So but no, they have completed filming, so it's in post-production, so it should come out next year. It should. So hopefully it gets a theatrical release as well, not just some like max release. I'd like to see that. Please.
Oh yeah. No, I want to. Like you're putting. Don't leave money on the table. Okay.
Yeah. But I'd imagine that movie will be dedicated to Tony, so I'm sure we'll see that in the credits. But at least it'd be good to see him one more time. So apparently he did film his stuff. So, we'll wrap it up there. If you haven't seen Candyman, I encourage you to. It definitely holds up. It's worth a watch. Do it for Tony, man, because he's great. So, we'll wrap it up there for our discussion. We don't know what we're doing quite next. We'll spin the wheel in the next couple of days, I'm sure. Again, pending any other major celebrity deaths. Fingers crossed, or at least major ones in movies. Sometimes you get people who are known for TV, or something, things like that. Pending any other major movie stars that have something on the wheel, we'll spin the wheel again and we'll see what happens. So, Richie, anything you want to plug or where people can find anything you want to throw out there before we wrap it up tonight?
No, So I'm scheduled to be on like Tournament Fight here coming up soon. I think I'll be on Chris Scott's
top 64 TV shows for his birthday. I think is what he wants to do.
TV shows.
He's got some strange ones on there, so look forward to that, Richie.
Cool. Well, hopefully, I'm not like 100%. Just because I'm in the flux of moving at the moment, but I am hoping that I'll have internet by then. I've ordered to have to be on, so hopefully things go smoothly, and then and hopefully I can be part. I can do the recast of Beetlejuice as well. That's something that I would be looking forward to. And yeah, and then like we just did an episode before this of Lonely Marks. So the next episode, which probably won't be on Thanksgiving because no, we won't do that. But we'll work it out. Probably probably Wednesday, but we'll talk. It'll be just recap Full Gear and then look forward to Survivor Series. So so. And I'm on JPO's channel here and there as well. So
Yeah, no. Hopefully, you can be on that Beetlejuice recast with us if you got your internet, and send me your picks anyways, just in case. And if not, I got Jacob Barber on standby because Tim Burton is his guy, so I'll have him on standby just in case. So we'll see what happens. And you can mostly find me here on the Movie Hero Network. I host recasts, so I'll be hosting that one on Monday night, so you can check that out. We'll be doing a Beetlejuice recast, and then we got some Christmas episodes coming up. We'll be recasting Home Alone and Die Hard throughout December, so two kind of Christmassy movies.
I'm on the Home Alone one, so that'd be
that one's going to be interesting and fun. So Jordan's already sent me his picks for that one. He said he wanted to get ahead of that one, so we'll see what happens. I haven't really thought about it yet. Die Hard is going to be a tricky one. Who do you cast as Hans Gruber? Holy hell, I don't know. We'll see. How do you recast a perfect movie? I don't know. We got stuff like that. Like I said, Wheel of Movies every 2-ish weeks, something like that. Schedule pending. We usually do that. Lonely Marks over on the Lonely Marks Wrestling Podcast channel, which I always link to in the Movie Hero Network Facebook group, which you can join and kind of follow along all of our shenanigans, as well as other people in our community, and they're doing their trivias and all their podcasts and YouTube shows as well. We'll leave it at that. So for the next time, again, probably in about 2 weeks, a week after Thanksgiving, something like that, we'll get you another episode of Wheel of Movies, and it'll be episode number 30. So we're chugging right along, Richie. 30 episodes. I know this sort of me and you incarnation of this was about halfway through. I sort of took over the show for Jordan and kind of rebooted it with you, sort of to just do this every 2 weeks or so. But I've enjoyed it, man. I enjoy doing these and revisiting some of these movies. So it's a lot of fun. So we'll leave it at that for now. So thanks as always for joining me, Richie. We appreciate it. I'm Austin Pez Howell, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Wheel of Movies. Bye.